And welcome to Meet an Indie Agency here on Indie Agency News. I am your host today, Kyle O'Brien, managing editor of Indie Agency News. So we're going to get right down to it. We have a great team with us, a winning team, one might say, Team Win Studios coming right up. And we're going to bring her on right now. Wendy Shay, welcome, managing partner, Team Win. Thank you for joining us here. And so you're here. Tell us a little bit about your agency. And let's see, you're in the LA area. Tell us where.
So completely distributed. So we left the offices in the pandemic and never went back to them,
Gotcha.
which is great. So yeah, we're based in Los Angeles, and we're a small indie agency. So thanks for having us. And we're really driven for performance. So we're considered a performance-driven creative shop. And we do creative production and post-production all entirely in-house, which makes us a little different.
Gotcha. Okay. So what would people best know you for? What are you best known for in the industry?
Well, I mean, if you ask our clients, it's for meeting and beating performance expectations. But if you're looking on TV right now, we're doing most of the Safelite spots. Drive Time is on right now. And if you're digital, we're doing a lot of work with Paramount Plus and Google. And yeah, so people are probably seeing a lot of our work out there.
Nice. Do you have the Safelite repair, Safelite replace jingle going through your head most of the day?
All day, every day.
Of course you do. So what would you consider the top core strengths of Team Win?
So because we're very performance driven, I'd say we're digital first at our core. So a lot of the work that we do might start out as a YouTube campaign, and then it kind of extends from there because we're Google partners. So when we do a campaign, a lot of times it's conceived, sometimes as a YouTube first campaign, and then it extends into other digital, social platforms. And then a lot of the clients, when they see our work perform well on YouTube, it extends to connected TV and OTT. So yeah, so a lot of the work is, even though it's digital driven, it's meant to be proliferated across, all the platforms.
Gotcha. All right. So all right, you've got the work out there. Obviously, you guys are doing a good job. How has business been this year so far?
This has been a really interesting year. So
Interesting
just
is a
before
really
we
good
get
way to
a
say that.
really interesting week / really interesting day. So I think the past couple of months has been a little bit of a slow roll for the agency, but it's actually been really great. So we tend to find that when there's downturns in the market, people turn to us to because we can do things that are quick, efficient, and get them to market up and running quickly. So it feels very similar actually to when the pandemic happened, in that there's been this slowdown in downturn, and a lot of clients are retrenching and trying to figure out who they are and what they're about. So we're getting a lot of clients asking us to kind of rethink tactical strategy and messaging strategy over the past few months to meet the need of what's happening in their industries.
Gotcha. And how many people are at the agency now?
We're about 19, but we scale up and down with production and post-production.
Gotcha.
One of the things that really distinguishes the shop is a lot of us are considered multi-hyphenate. So my business partners are writer-directors. We have post-producers who are also editors. And so we kind of do a lot with a little, because everybody takes on several types of projects and several types of roles on a project.
Gotcha. And scaling up, obviously you're in the LA area, so you have access to a lot of great producers and directors, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's great for our size because everybody is really pretty senior. We don't have that kind of entry level person, so we're able to execute together collectively as a team. Um, High volume, lots of projects, because all of us are very senior. We're used to doing it together, which is great.
Sure. All right, let's get down to the indie portion of this program. uh, Why is being independent so important to you and the agency?
So before this, I worked at agencies for 25 years. And in that time, I worked mostly at small shops, but I did work at a few pretty large shops that were held by other companies. And it was at the larger shops that I felt like you were most beholden to the bottom line, making margin, and just getting the most out of every client that you could from a revenue perspective. And I would look around these rooms and in those larger agencies and the holding companies, and I would see dozens upon dozens of people sitting on a meeting. And for a client that was paying often hourly for those roles, I would sit in these meetings and think like, this is a freaking expensive meeting. If I was the client, I'd be looking at all these people and be like, are all you needed? Or like, why is this happening? So, and that tends to happen when you get to these larger shops. And like in these holding companies, is they're looking at the bottom line and trying to staff as much as they can to meet that bottom line.
Sure.
So working at an independent agency, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about being beholden to a certain margin on a project or a client, and we're actually able to put a lot more work into it than I think other agencies would be able to, because Jared or I or other business partner Ryan can take a look at a project and be like, you know what, we're willing to make a lot less on this because we know it's going to be a great project for the client and it's going to be fun for us to work on. And that's just something that you can't do. And sometimes clients come into us and they're like, hey, we only have so much to work with for this project. We can be like, yeah, we can make something work with that. That's great. And at a larger company or at a holding company, you just have to pass all of that by, which is not fun. We like to be that fun,
Right.
scrappy upstart.
Yeah, and obviously, the clients are going to appreciate the fact that you're willing to work with them, and
Yeah.
you're not, set to one beholden price. And I mean, how do you get creative with trying to do that kind of budgeting?
So one of the things that distinguishes the shop is going back to the multi-hyphenate thing. All of our creative directors are also behind the camera film directors. So a lot of the time, the creativity comes in the budgeting is about how it's concepted. So our creative team knows what it actually takes to go out and shoot something and produce something. And so they're able to, as we're ideate to that budget. So a lot of times clients are like, gosh, we're this is the objective. We only have this much to carve out. And in the ideation process is where we solve all of those problems for them.
Gotcha. And keeping on the indie theme, what do you learn from other indies? Do you obviously you've worked with other people in the industry? There's a lot of great creative shops in LA. What do you learn from the other indies in the business?
So when I meet other independent shops, one of my favorite things to talk about is company culture. So I think a lot of us smaller shops especially in the past few years, kind of came up in the pandemic, right? Where we had all these distributed work environments. And so I'm always asking other folks, like, how do you maintain the sense of community in these distributed work environments? And how are you, keeping things positive and moving forward when a lot of times the best talent isn't always local talent. So, you're working with people across time zones because you just want the best people for the work. So that's mostly how I'm like drawing inspiration from other executives that I meet in independent agencies. Otherwise, I just like to geek out on their creative. I like to look and see who's using AI in an interesting way, whose work is really popping off from a performance perspective, and trying to see what we can glean from that we can, maybe understand and learn from for our clients.
Right. We support each other here in the indie world,
Yeah.
don't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Co-opetition.
Yeah. Great way to put it. So let's talk about why brands would work with you. We've talked about kind of why, what you're known for, but what would you pitch to brands wanting to work with you that maybe haven't before?
So I think we sit in a sweet spot where a lot of very large brands maybe have their giant AORs and their big TV campaigns, right?
Mhm.
But what they're having a hard time unlocking is specifically YouTube and digital first. listen, YouTube is the number one way that people are seeing TV right now. Like
Yeah.
they're on CTV, and that YouTube experience is not something that every big brand has been able to unlock. So a lot of the times, what we see is that they take their TV campaign and they put it on YouTube, and they just, they're surprised when it doesn't work, because YouTube is a very specific platform. So where we win, and when clients want to come and work with us, is because they need to unlock that and unlock what works on that particular platform as a proving ground for what else can work on other digital and social platforms. So when I look at who we're best fit for, it's as those big brands who are used to TV advertising but haven't cracked YouTube specifically and digital overall.
Gotcha. And in terms of that, you've worked with obviously plenty of brands over time. What have you learned from those brands that has helped you kind of move forward and grow as an agency?
Um, our favorite brand partners are those that have really strong internal uh, marketing and creative agencies of their own.
Mhm.
So I have learned a lot from their processes and their strategies, because the companies that seem to be doing it right now are those that not only have a great internal creative capability, but also have the media component um, to build on the strategy. So we're big on, again, we're very performance driven, so we're constantly looking at data. And so what I'm looking at with clients is those companies that are integrating the two really well, because it just makes for better performing creative.
Right. And so you work with plenty of brands that have in-house creative teams. So I mean, how does that synergy work when you're working on a project?
Well, it's interesting. It works different ways. So sometimes a client comes to us and they have like a kernel of an idea and they just need help executing on it. Other times we're all in a room together, coming up with the ideas together. And other times they've given us a really strong creative foundation, excuse me, that of the brand itself, that we can just kind of take and riff on. So it depends on how much they want to be involved. But again, because of our size and because we can be, we're really really flexible for what works with the client and what their own internal creative shop.
Great. I know you're a fairly small shop. You said what, around 19 people.
Mhm.
How have you kind of gotten your talent? How do you help keep that talent? What do you do to kind of grow yourself, but keep all the right talent there?
Uh, so we're fortunate. So I think the talent that we have right now is all really actually appreciative of our distributed work environment. So where we're winning with talent right now is all this return to office stuff, right? So um, I've actually had a few job postings up in the past couple of months, and I'm like, do you like working where you live? Do you like working on the road? Because this is a great opportunity for you. So we end up getting really senior people who don't want to work at the big shops and don't want to work for these organizations that are mandating that they go back to the office all the time,
Right.
or even a couple days a week. I mean, we're all remote, which has been wonderful for us in our talent acquisition.
Yeah, and so being all remote, I mean, I imagine a major portion are in the general LA area. So how do you kind of gather together? How do you, when you need to meet up? Is it just at the production, and then you just do Zoom? Otherwise, what's the way that you really work best together?
Yeah, so I mean, I see all these people all the time on production and on set, so it's not like we totally miss each other. But otherwise, we try to bring everybody together a couple of times a year for some kind of training or some kind of event or something. But to be honest with you, we're like on the road so much with production that that's where we see each other most often, is just when we're on set, and we're able to collaborate that way. But really, Zoom has been awesome. And like, being on online meetings, it's pretty close to being there, and it's been close enough to being there that it really hasn't been an issue for
Yeah,
us.
well, heck, I'm in Pennsylvania, and you're in the greater LA region, out in the Five Colleges area. So obviously, there's 3,000 miles between us, and we're not missing a beat here. So I really appreciate you taking the time. But let's talk about the whole idea of being an indie. It's basically we're weirdos, we're misfits, we're underdogs. Do you consider yourself one of those things?
Uh, I feel like indie agencies get they use those terms a lot, like oh we're different from everybody else, whatever. So I think all those terms kind of tend to work in general for indie agencies. There's a reason that we did this. There's a reason that we're crazy enough to start our own shops to begin with, which naturally makes us a weirdo and whatnot. But I think when we think about ourselves, we think of ourselves as more punk rock than anything. So Jared, our my other partner, actually was in a punk rock band a
Nice.
long time ago, and he said that same kind of like you know angst, movement, collaboration, and then improvisation that happens in punk rock tends to be kind of more our jam. So rather like I guess in that way you can say kind of it has that misfit vibe, but yeah, we like to call ourselves punk rock.
Nice. A good punk aesthetic is always good. Yeah, even if you don't have a mohawk and torn denim. So uh, I may be going back a little far on my punk knowledge because mine dates back to I don't know the first era of punk. So um, yikes. Uh, but we always give people a chance to shout out somebody, a CMO, a marketer, somebody that they'd really like to say hi to and maybe connect with at some point if they haven't before. So here's your chance. Who do you want to call out?
Oh gosh. I if you are in automotive, QSR, insurance. Those are the three categories right now that are most entrenched into the traditional TV way of thinking. So any of those three categories, I think if you're a CMO in one of those categories, you're no doubt looking at your um, YouTube and digital presence, and there's something up with it. There's probably something to miss because you've been doing TV for so long. So those are the people that I would really want to shout out and be like, reach out to us because there's no doubt that there's a world where we should be in the mix. It shouldn't just be the TV creative out there. There needs to be an all new way of thinking about creative.
And how do you do that with, I mean, the automotive world is, and trust me, I worked with enough automotive, especially in radio, that they really like hearing themselves and seeing themselves the same as everybody else. How do you convince them to do something different to stand out?
So we're big believers in test and learn. So if you just freaking test it, we actually there's two campaigns that we just ran that I can't talk about what the brands are, but they were automotive brands,
Gotcha.
and we reconcepted creative for them that was specific. This one again was for YouTube, but the work that we did, I think, saw a 600% lift in their metrics from what they had been running, which was just their traditional TV campaigns. And they were just shocked, blown away. So, but at least they had taken the leap to test it. At least they had tried something. And now they're looking for ways to extend upon that. So yeah, that's what they need to do is just take a small test. A test doesn't barely costs anything to try, and the platforms like Google will work with you to try to make it happen and make it a success.
Yeah. Well, let's convince them. It's been great having you on. Do you have anything coming up that you can tell us about that you're excited to release to the world, or should we just keep an eye on things?
Yeah, I keep an eye on things. We are launching a new national campaign for a very big AI company in the next month. So we're really excited about that one because it's a mix of, from a production standpoint, it's been challenging because it's a mix of live action and generative AI used for commercial production. So I think you're hearing a lot about generative AI video kind of as standalone, but this mix of actual practical production with generative AI has been really exciting for us. And we're really looking forward to launching that creative because it's we think the future.
Excellent. Well, be sure to share it with us here, and we will help get the word out for you. Wendy Shay, thank you so much, managing partner at Team Win. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next time.